my channel. I thought I would make a slightly different video today, more of a sit down chatty video, just kind of explaining my journey, how I got here, so you can gain more insights of who I am. Not that anyone asked or anyone cares, but in case you do care, welcome and thank you for joining me whilst I sit down and chat away. I do have some notes with me just so I can stay on the topic, because I do tend to get a bit carried away. But for the most part, I will just be talking from what I remember at the top of my head and speaking from the heart, of course. So, first things first, brief introduction of who I am. In case you don't know, my name is Samantha. I am 28 years old. I am a Libra. I was born in October and I was born in the UK, in London. But my family is Chinese. This is where it gets a little bit complicated because a lot of people ask me where I'm from. So I'm Chinese, but both my parents, my grandparents and my great-grandparents all were born in Vietnam. My granddad actually is Vietnamese. So it's a big mix of different cultures, British, Vietnamese, Chinese. So yeah, I'm not Mongolian, Native American, Latina, Indian. No, I am Asian through and through. Oh, another question that I get asked a lot is, do I have Instagram? And right now I do not have Instagram or Facebook or TikTok for many different reasons, but I mainly want to focus my time and energy on YouTube and not be distracted by a bunch of other social media platforms. So that is that. I do not have Instagram. So as I mentioned before, a majority of my life I spent in London, the UK. I dropped out of school. I don't know how you would call it in other countries, but in the UK we call it A-level. So I didn't finish my studies. I dropped out 6 months before my A-levels were to be finished, and school was just never for me. I hated it. It's not that I was a bad student or I was naughty or misbehaved. I really tried. Okay, maybe not really tried. And it just wasn't for me. I felt so much pressure. Everyone around me knew exactly what they wanted to do with their life, what they wanted to study in university, and I just had no clue. And who knows, really, at this point, what you want to be when you're older and make these big life decisions when you're 16, 17, 18. Like, I don't even know what I am or who I am as a person. So to make these decisions for me was not easy. And when I would compare myself to my other classmates and they were so sure of themselves and so smart and I just was failing, my grades were terrible and I just felt very stupid and very lost in life. So I just made the decision that I would leave school before the exam season was over and not go to university either. And, you know, of course, my teachers were trying to convince me not to quit school, to tell my mother, oh my God, that I wanted to drop out of school. Was really terrifying. I'll never forget the day I told her. We were in the car and I was shaking. I knew that it just wasn't for me. After I dropped out of school, my mum told me, okay, you can't just sit around and do nothing with your life. So I got a job at a restaurant and I was waitressing, and I did that for a few years. I also worked in makeup. I was one of those people in like the Sephora. I worked at a beauty counter and I was putting makeup on people and selling them products, and I didn't enjoy it because at the end of the day it was retail, but again, looking back in hindsight, it was cool. It was a fun job. Makeup is a form of art and that's what I enjoyed about it, the creativity side. But the retail side of it, which is pretty much the bulk of it, I didn't enjoy so much. So after spending a couple of years working, I saved up enough money to go traveling. And never in my life was I ever, up until this point, interested in traveling. I was a London girl through and through, city girl. I love to party, I love to drink, take drugs at this time of my life, not anymore. But yeah, you're a teenager, right? Growing up in London, there was a huge party rave scene. And yeah, the thought of going traveling or being immersed in nature, going on different adventures just wasn't on the table. It wasn't on the cards for me. But I don't know what clicked inside of me. I just felt like, what is outside of London? What is outside of this life that I'm living? There's so much more to the world, right? And I remember watching some YouTube videos of backpackers in Southeast Asia, and that sparked the flame inside of me. And that was that. I told my mother I was going to go traveling, initially for 3 months, that was the plan, and she said no. And I remember crying and screaming, and I said, I'm going whether you like it or not. And of course, as a mother, she was very terrified for me, but I followed my heart, and of course, here I am now, 7 years later. So it worked out for the better, thank God. It's a very, very long story. So, as I said, it's a journey of 7 years, so I'm going to try and condense it as much as I can. I've already been yapping for, I think, 6 minutes now. My first taste of traveling was in Southeast Asia in 2017. I didn't know where to go in the airport. I was absolutely terrified. I had no idea what on earth I was doing, but I did it. I landed in Bangkok. No, I didn't land in Bangkok. I landed in Thailand and started traveling around Southeast Asia for 6 months. And then after the 6 months, I went back to London and worked for 1 year. And then in 2018, this is when the big bulk of my traveling really started, constant travel. And from 2018, I was traveling for 4 years. I also lived in Canada for 2.5 years and worked there, which is still to this day some of the fondest memories I've ever had, because this was the first time I've ever worked in a different country. And again, I was just waitressing, doing, jobs here and there, housekeeping, traveling, whilst making money. And it was the best time of my life.
What are you doing?
There's no way.
See.
Maybe it's at night. Because
So yeah, 2.5 years of Canada. I was also traveling through Central America, from Panama all the way up until Mexico. I did some more traveling in Southeast Asia during this time of living in Canada for the winter because it was so cold in Canada, and I was like, no, fuck this, I need some heat. And then after my visa expired in Canada, this was around COVID time also that I was in Canada. That's a whole nother story also. I was in Portugal.
We've been waiting for this for like a week.
I lived in Colombia in South America for 1.5 years. Okay. What the fuck do I do? I actually can't catch a flipping break. It's been a lot. I can't even list, I don't even remember where I went, but I was here, there and everywhere for 4 years. And then in 2022, I went back to England for 6 months to work because I ran out of money. In 2023, I went to Ghana, West Africa, and this was again a very transformative trip for me. Who's that?
She don't love you. It's not about romance. Oh.
Careful. Hi.
Get anything. They got.
My first time in Africa, and I only got a little taste of what Africa is like, and I would love to go back one day. I will go back, but Ghana was incredible, challenging, but really, really incredible. Since January 2023 till now, so the end of 2024, I have been pretty hardcore backpacking through India, Sri Lanka, through Southeast Asia. A bulk of my time these past few years has been in India, which again is a whole nother story.
What the fuck?
Super crazy place, but yeah, I won't get into it. Here we are now. Now I'm currently in Vietnam, in Ninh Binh, and it's so beautiful here, really peaceful and beautiful nature, really incredible nature. So I'm very happy to be here. And my next stop is Indonesia, which I'm sure a lot of my viewers would be very excited about, as am I. I'm very, very excited to go back to Indonesia, which really feels like home to me, Farmstay Manningham. Again, this is a whole nother video, but okay, what else? This is another question that I get asked quite a lot, is how do I afford to travel for so long? Well, as I already told you, I worked in Canada for 2.5 years. And then in 2022, I was in London for 6 months working. But of course, that's not enough money for years and years and years to be traveling consistently. That's when I discovered teaching English online. And that's what I still do currently. I'm not a proper teacher. I only do conversation practice with people who want to improve their speaking, their listening. So my job is basically just talking. I've built up a pretty solid, loyal student base of people that come back to me every week. I've created some really beautiful connections with people, because some of my students I've talked to for over a year now, once a week, sometimes even twice a week. So we know each other pretty well. We know, especially when we're talking about deeper topics. And sometimes it feels like therapy. Sometimes I feel like a therapist, because at the end of the day, it's not only about speaking English, it's the need for connection. And I think some of the people that I talk to, of course, English is important for them, but we all just need someone to listen to them at times. And that's what's taught me the most about this job, is the ability to listen to someone and truly listen, the ability to hold space, to express their thoughts, their feelings without any judgment. And that's what I do for a living. I'm not rich at all. I'm not saving any money, but it's enough. It's enough for me to get by. It's enough for me to feed myself and to have shelter and to be able to travel, of course. I also volunteer a lot, and this is a very important point that I want to mention, is volunteering. I use a website called Workaways, and it's a platform where you can find hosts in different countries that need your time or help. or you can become a host and host volunteers. Volunteering for me has been a huge highlight of my journey so far, good and bad, but for the most part, I have learned so much, depending on the projects you pick, right? Because you can do anything through volunteering, but mostly I like to dedicate my time to farm projects, natural building projects, sustainability projects.
Better do different stuff and not be a master in anything.
Probably this part is
And artwork. I'm also a painter, so I have painted murals for different hostels, for example. Maybe weeks to do like a full mural, but because this is just one
color.
yeah, and I think the monochrome looks good. I was kind of experimenting with like more line to make it lighter, but it kind of turned out the same. In exchange for free food and free accommodation. Of course, there's exceptions, but most of the time it's 5 hours of work per day for free food and free accommodation. I'm saving money this way, but the experience that you get from volunteering versus just backpacking and moving constantly is night and day. I've had some of the most profound, most incredible moments and memories in my whole life through volunteering. And so that is how I've been able to travel for so long, volunteering and teaching English online. Do I have plans of settling down? What are my plans for the future? Will I be traveling for much longer? These are questions that I've been asking myself pretty frequently, I would say, especially the past year or so. And I do want to settle down. This lifestyle, as amazing as it is, I think it's a natural succession of life to want to settle down at some point, especially I'm not 20 years old anymore when I first started. I'm now 28, I'm getting older, and this lifestyle is not sustainable. I want my own home, I want my own bed, I want to get married one day, I want to have a family one day, and of course, that means settling down. Where? I have no idea. Definitely, I would say not in Europe, for sure not the UK. My dream is to one day own land, buy my own land, build my own house, grow my own food, be self-sustainable, live in a community with people that I care about, where we can help each other, live off the land. That is my dream. I'm sure it will happen. Hence why I've been dedicating my time to farm projects, natural building projects, so I can learn as much as I can. Knowledge is power, right? But there's only so much knowledge you can attain. You have to be able to be practical. It will happen. It will happen one day. I'm manifesting it. I can see it. Of course, there will be many, many animals living there too. Cats, dogs, cows, horses, you name them. Chickens, for eggs. Yeah. But this is in the far, far future. There's a big mountain to climb when you want this sort of lifestyle. And I've lived it through my volunteering in Ghana, in India, in Thailand. I know how difficult it is to truly be self-sustainable, to have a farm, to grow your own vegetables, to build your house. It takes many, many years, resources, and money, which I don't have right now. But again, this is in the far, far future. I still have a lot of traveling left in me. There's still many countries that I want to explore. South America is one of them. I did live in Colombia, as I mentioned before, but Peru, Brazil, Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, oh my gosh, there's too much to see in this world. But one day I will settle down. Traveling has changed me so much as a person. I am a completely different being to who I was a year ago, let alone 7 years ago when I started. So I just wanted to document my journey and my life to not even inspire people. People have different aspirations in life. Happiness and success depends on the person, and it means something different to everyone. For me, this is happiness, to be in nature, to have freedom, to be able to explore, be who I want, do what I want, without the confinements of societal pressure, opinions of others. Just do what you want to do. Just do what makes you happy. Be brave. Be willing to just jump in the deep end, and who knows where you may end up. Ultimately, I've always said this, despite the thousands of miles I have traveled around the world, the journey that I'm going through internally is far bigger than anywhere I've traveled physically in this world. The lessons I've learned, the mistakes I've made, the joy I've felt, the gratitude I have, especially experiencing this alone as a solo traveler, you change. There's no way that you can't. And I think everyone, at least once in their life, should travel by themselves and explore what parts of you are hidden, explore parts of you that you didn't even know existed, the strength that you have inside of you, the ability to make decisions for yourself, to stand up for yourself. Is not easy. It's definitely not easy, and it's an ongoing process. But my solo travels have really taught me these things and has catapulted me into this stratosphere of deep self-knowing and being able to spend a lot of time alone, a lot of overthinking, a lot of anxiety. But we're human, right? Everyone feels these things. Yeah, I think I've briefly summed up what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope I did it well. I don't know. Let's see once I edit this how put together it is and if it makes any sense. I'm really grateful that I'm able to share these memories with you. And also YouTube is, for me, when I document these videos of myself, I can look back at it when I'm 80, 90 years old maybe, and see where I was in my prime time 20s. It's really a joy sharing it with you all, but also for me. It's like my little vault of memories. That's it. I'm gonna stop yapping. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon in my next vlog, which will be in Indonesia. So again, thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you're here. Mwah.